we've got layoffs from CD Projekt Red, a $13,000 worth of World of Warcraft gold item that's absolutely got headlines around the whole real money trading situation and debate with that game. We've got a developer actually pulling some very invasive looking player tracking and a little bit of research that I think is particularly fascinating and important. So then, I've got a really big announcement on Sunday, and I've got one right now, because thanks to all of your support on The Pale Beyond, our first video game, we've now been able to put together a lot of cool things. Here's the first one, right? We've got an art book. It is like a, you know, full, big, proper, like, hardback, super, awesome art book. So the art team have been able to put this together, but that's actually not everything, because also here is the vinyl. Man, this is so awesome. It is all like properly remastered by like a vinyl specialist to sound perfect for the medium. I absolutely adore this thing. It's big, it's rich, and spoiler alert, so like avert your eyes for like, 10 seconds, but if you have played through stuff in Pale, I mean, come on, look how much of a visual feast this thing is. So we've got the vinyl, and if you buy the vinyl, you'll get immediately a DRM-free download of the deluxe soundtrack, which is 51 tracks long, and it's also in MP3 and WAV if you want the more high-quality files. And also, we've got the collector's edition, which is full of lovely little goodies. I especially love the stand for the Temperance. Mine just sits happily on my desk shelf. I've been jotting down things on my Captain's Log notebook as well. So store.bellular.games is the place to go for all of this. And what I'm doing is pre-orders for 2 weeks, right? And then once I've got the numbers, I'll order the final production runs of everything, and they'll be shipped straight from our fulfillment center to you guys. And if you buy the art book or the collector's edition, we've got a really nice wallpaper pack that the art team have put together. I mean, here's mine while using my phone. I love this thing. So, big picture, what this is all for then. Look, my ambition is to be able to fund our next game without having to take on a heap of publisher money. So, all of your support for this goes straight into that aim, straight into the next project, and really just, getting that next project self-published, increasing the, increasing staff wages, that kind of thing. I can't reveal much about our next project, but it is underway. It is in the Paleverse, but it's very much a stand-alone game, and we're all feeling extremely excited and confident about it. Finally then, that's not all for the announcements. Check out Steam on Sunday, because I've got more there. Till then though, store.bellular.games, and you can pick up all of these. Really, I mean, if I had 3 hands, I could also, hang on. Whoa-hey! There, I made it. There, now it's in the camera. Woo! This is insane. All right, back to the news. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's get stuck in then. What's going on with World of Warcraft? Right, WoW Classic has had one case of $13,000 worth of gold being spent. This all exploded on a video from Guzu TV. It was spotted by Games Radar, then spread around all of the different game blogs and, news websites. And in this case, it was a GDKP auction on a WoW Classic server that, yes, reached 3 million gold for a single ring. This is actually quite a bit above the gold cap for an individual character, which does make it feel kind of crazy, and to a lot of people this is suggesting that all is not exactly well in the economy of World of Warcraft Classic. Now, the thing there is, right, can we prove that this person bought WoW token with real money and then bought the item? No. Can we prove that this person bought gold that is, outside of the WoW token system, therefore the stuff that breaks Blizzard's terms of service? Can we prove that they did that sort of real money trading to get the gold for this item? No, we cannot. But here's a bit of a quote. Imagine the amount of dailies these guys must have done to farm out this gold. I mean, not that somebody would exactly be doing dailies to farm out gold, but the point basically is the amount of gold in WoW Classic is getting kind of insane, to the point where a lot of people are ending up just feeling like priced out of the market, and it then appears that there's quite a rough economic incentive there for Blizzard, because WoW Token has been introduced to Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Now, at the time, Blizzard said this: it's simply not impactful to the average player who logs in, raids a few days a week with their guild, does a few dungeons and dailies, and then does some other stuff in between those activities. There's no friction in that player's experience that would tempt them to buy a token just to keep themselves afloat, right? Now, this is not a rebuke of that specific thing from Blizzard, because for a large number of Wrath Classic players, that's exactly what it is like, and they don't feel like they've got to go and get a WoW token. It's not like vanilla, where TBC, where like the requirements for, like potions and just materials to go into raid, where that was quite a bit higher because of just the way that farming was balanced and all that jazz. However, I think what this does show is an uncontrolled problem with bots and then real money trading that WoW token obviously didn't really solve. So really it's a case of the economy just getting inflated to absolute hell because of bots, then the whole real money trading thing allowing for absolutely insane GTKP runs, and that's just kind of getting really way out of Blizzard's control. If you're wondering how this is fixed, like, WoW token is not the answer. WoW token is here to be like the safe way for people to buy gold if they just want some gold for decently regular things. However, if you want to start playing in this sort of economy, then yeah, you're looking to real money trading. Ultimately, Blizzard needed a anti-botting solution that is better than what they've got. I mean, they do publicize their ban waves, they talk about it, but evidently it is not enough. The gold inflation has happened. That's pretty much that. And they're in an unfortunate period where if all of these players then rolled into Cataclysm Classic, a lot of this busted gold would be taken with them. Quite a tricky thing for Blizzard to fix there. Okay, next then. This is one that really did cause a mass outcry. Kind of crazy. Now, this is Owlcat Games. They've had a roller coaster few days. Now, they, of course, are a RPG game company behind the Pathfinder games, as well as the upcoming Rogue Trader game. And recently, they rolled out a patch for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, which is a game that released in 2021. Of course, based off the very popular Pathfinder IP. Now, this contained a new tool, an integration with a third-party piece of software called AppsFlyer. Now, this is basically something used for marketing campaigns. Owlcat explained here that this was basically something they put in to help them track sales data based on a specific campaign. So here's the description. In detail, it makes a fingerprint of the device when a user clicks on some ad in the internet, usually by using cookies, or social media, and it stores it in a server. Another fingerprint is made whenever the advertised game is actually launched, and if there is a match, the platform can mark the specific purchase as one that was impacted by advertisements. So you can obviously understand why, for a games company, this is a good thing, because they want to look at their games that have actually been activated by an advertisement and then see, what advertisements led to that activation, and ultimately to allow them to finely tune their marketing strategy. What you're going to be dealing with marketing is, your user acquisition cost. And what is the difference between your user acquisition cost and your user's lifetime value? If your average lifetime value is, say, I don't know, $45, and your user acquisition cost is $25, then by acquiring that customer, you earn $20. Optimizing that's really important for a business. Now, in this case, the fingerprint is comprised of a timestamp, the time and date where the game was launched, IP address, platform the game has been played on, game version and ID, and the OS of the PC. However, because this tool requires access to the user's PC to make that fingerprint, Owlcat wanted to make sure that it was clear that players would be engaging with it. So they updated their end user license agreement to basically require users to, accept it again so that they could launch the game now that this thing had changed. Basically, it's a bit like whenever you approve cookies whenever you go to a website. You could say this is all quite simple. It's designed around the principle of Owlcat making sure that they are getting a good return on their marketing budget. It's the sort of thing where, if you're Owlcat Games, I think you can imagine, oh wait, this just means we can be a bit more sure of where our effective advertising is. We can all see how that is something that a game developer, or really any company, would absolutely want. However, the question is, can you see where there's a problem here? Because when you don't accept the cookie, the site just lets you in, right? But if you don't accept the terms of an end-user license agreement, you now can't play the game you've owned for 2 years. This is the bit that's the problem. It should have been some sort of supplementary thing that you could accept or decline. Yes, people will be like, oh, pop-up, why do I have to deal with this? But, do that, and then let the people play. This was a pretty bad implementation. There were petitions in Reddit, of course, a lot of negative Steam reviews, and per community management, this prompted a very swift meeting at the company to fix the problem and rapidly hotfix to remove the tech and roll back the EULA. Some people had been pessimistic about the idea, but basically nobody expected this level of a reaction. And at least to their credit, they ended up owning the L, right? They basically said that they recognized that not only did they package this whole thing quite poorly alongside a chunky engine update, which then caused people to maybe suspect, sort of intrusive spyware-like things, but they also didn't do a good enough job of explaining any of this to the players. Here's a quote: "Our community is much more important to us than a marketing campaign. We apologize for any inconvenience and ask you to wait for the hotfix." The rollback has already happened. Where are we left in this one? For me, honestly, it's fairly simple. They should have implemented that better. The idea of a developer wanting to be able to fine-tune their marketing spend is fundamentally a good thing, right? As gamers, we do not want to be targeted by marketing that we're not particularly interested in, and we want companies to be able to reach audiences in a cost-effective way, which means that they can make their games successfully, right? When actually done well, what does advertising do? It connects a customer with somebody who has a product that the customer is going to be interested in. When that is efficient, that means that a minimal number of people are, sort of angered or whatever by an advertisement that they didn't want to see. You get maximum ROI for the brand, and you also get users being connected with games they're interested in. And on platforms with really good advertisement targeting, or maybe like the Shopify app or things like that are actually pretty good at learning about things that you might actually like, sometimes even as a customer, it's like, oh, that advertisement is actually interesting to me. Okay, I'll click on it and see what happens, which, yeah, sometimes does happen. I mean, how many times do we get puzzled by a game not doing well? We're like, why the hell didn't they market this? That shows that, like, oh, people actually maybe think that a game should have been marketed more effectively. This is a part of that. Just goes to show the why, or the how, right? The how you do it, that really does matter, and that's the bit that they cocked up. Next then, right. If you make your game community more inviting, you'll make more money. Yes, this is an interesting little study from March 2023 that comes out of the University of California. Data from their most recent survey and interview study amongst online game players aged 13 to 25 shows that roughly half, 49.3% of players report avoiding some games because of toxicity amongst the user base. The average monthly spend on online games deemed non-toxic by players was $21.10 compared to $12.09 on toxic games, which is a 54% gain in revenue, which does kind of set the stage here. If your game's got a reputation for being a shit show where people just get flamed all the time, then the network effect will set in a negative way, and people will literally just not spend as much money in your game. I think that's not particularly surprising, right? Now, there's a charity, Take This, who paired up with Nielsen to basically talk to a population of players to expand on this study, and then they found this, that 6 out of 10 people said they had at least once quit a session or like a match or a game completely because they were subject to hate and harassment within the game's community. 6 out of 10 reported that at least once they had chosen not to spend money in a game because of how other people treated them in that community, and 7 out of 10 reported avoiding playing certain games because of their reputation within the community. Here's a really good example, right? Take Mythic Plus and World of Warcraft. I can tell you, like, I do World of Warcraft as our other channel. I guess, I don't know, we're one of the big fish in the Warcraft scene, actually. And I can tell you, a humongous percentage of my audience are just like, yeah, I don't want to do Mythic Plus. It's just such a toxic shit show. Now, this is not players who are always terrible at the game. This is players who, maybe they don't want to have a tank that appears in their dungeon, and the tank fucks up. Everyone's toxic about it. Maybe the tank is toxic about receiving advice because maybe they're doing something wrong and that's causing failures. And the whole thing's a big shit show. And one of the most ingrained problems that World of Warcraft has is the perception of Mythic Plus is a toxic shit show. Because when you play it with your friends in your guild, it's great fun and I really enjoy it. When you play it with randoms, it's 50-50. That is obviously bad for WoW, and this tracks to so many other games. Now, there's another interesting finding here that is based on an immutable trait. Here's what this study found, that men were more likely to change their spending and playing behavior than women for this thing. I'm not exactly sure what you can read into that. It's just kind of interesting, I suppose. I mean, most people would have thought that, like, take Overwatch, right? it is true. You know, if you're going to get more shit as a woman if you're playing Overwatch, and you know, you'll get more targeted shit because you'll be seen as like, you know, the deviation from the mean, because if the mean is just a bunch of dudes, they'll be like, oh my god, it's a girl. If we're gonna go and trash that person, we're gonna do it because, oh my god, it's a girl. There's a feminoid in my video game, or you know, however the goblins talk. Right, that's just kind of the way that it goes. So I actually, that's kind of counterintuitive to me. I thought, or I would have had a bias, that more kind of women would be nudged away from games because of toxicity online. So I just think it's quite interesting that at least in this sample, it was actually men. I don't know. Maybe we can read into that. Maybe we can't. I don't know. Kind of interesting. But I suppose it is something to keep in mind then. Having your game not be a shit show is actually important to how much money it's going to make for your company. So companies, act accordingly. Next then, just a few other topics to round us off. We've got CD Projekt Red announcing yet more layoffs. This time 9% of their total staff, around 100 people, by Q1 of 2024. Just saying, today we're overstaffed. We have many talented people on board who are finishing their tasks, and based on current and expected project needs, we already know we don't have other opportunities for them in the next year. This is actually the third round of layoffs for the company this year alone. There was 29 on The Witcher Sirius developer The Molasses Flood in May, and then 30 staff were released from the Gwent team in June. Of course, Gwent didn't exactly catch off in the way that I think they wanted it to, even though I think there's a lot to love about those Gwent games, actually. Now, all of this is, of course, against the backdrop of them working on 6 projects currently, including, of course, Phantom Liberty, which is truly tremendous and seems to actually make even the base game a hell of a lot better, and, of course, the other things that are going on that we've talked about before. As for my take here, look, at the end of the day, you do have to run a efficient company, right? You do have a duty to do that. If you do not solve staffing problems like this, then you'll end up having a company that's a bloated mess. It's not good to work in, and you know, that's just not going to be financially efficient, right? At the end of the day, if these people aren't going to be doing like good work, or you know, there are not opportunities for them to do work within a company, like, what's the point of the company paying them to stay around? And frankly, other than collecting a paycheck, what's the point of them staying there? It's probably going to be better for their career growth to actually, you know, hop over somewhere else where perhaps they can have, you know, they can have more meaningful work to do, and that will help to propel their career, right? I think what is good here is that this does appear to be done in a relatively controlled manner, given that this is 9%, 100 people by Q1 2024. I would absolutely hope, considering this is, I mean, just shy of, like, you know, 5 months, we could say. Yeah, just shy of 6 months, 5 months, that this would give people enough time to land on their feet. Next, then, an interesting thing, and we have Sea of Stars, which is a throwback to the 16-bit era of Square Enix JRPGs from Sabotage Studios, and it's got a notable first because it is day one on Game Pass and PS Plus as part of the game catalog for all extra and premium members. This is the people that did The Messenger. I didn't play The Messenger, but Matt, he played The Messenger and he absolutely loved it. I think because of Twitch Prime and everything else, he's one of those people that's just got like 6 copies of The Messenger somehow. But yeah, seems like it'll probably be a pretty great game, and it's certainly curious that they've actually managed to get on both of those platforms, because usually, like, those platforms, you know, what are they paying for? They're kind of paying for, like, you being in our thing, not their thing. So it's interesting in this case, they just both want the game. But I guess certainly, if the money's there and it makes sense, why not? And in terms of Sony's ability to pick up, like, the more visually interesting indies that tend to stand out, yeah, this kind of does make sense. And for our final, I suppose, happy story for the end of things, hey, nostalgia. I mean, man, this is very nostalgic for me. I absolutely played the shit out of Simpsons Hit and Run. And the one before that, mostly Hit and Run. But a YouTube game dev, Rebus, has been working on making a sort of a modern remake of Simpsons Hit and Run for the PlayStation 2. Of course, widely regarded as being the best Simpsons game. I would absolutely stand behind that. I thought it was fantastic. And yeah, alongside some art contributors, they basically rebuilt the whole game from base principles in a 10-part video series. Quite amazing. They rebuilt, you know, the map, the assets, the control systems, all of that. They turned it into one big open world map, adding in some cutscenes. Really, really cool. Now, of course, nobody would be allowed to distribute a remade copy of a game based on somebody else's extremely monetized IP, and today this is absolutely not different. I suppose we can imagine a world without lawyers or whatever, but hey, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, yes, this is based off stuff that other people own, but this is a cool thing that can live in this guy's hard drive and perhaps his collaborators' hard drives, and hopefully no bad comes from it, and we can all just come together and celebrate what a great game Simpsons Hit and Run was. I believe it's mostly abandonware now, which of course does mean that I don't really think anyone's got a particular ethical qualm about anybody sourcing a way they can play the game today. Okay, that is it for today's video. Of course, thank you very much for watching, and hey, we got all that real nice merch for the Pale Beyond over on our newly launched store. You can click that link down below. Certainly would appreciate it. And I've got to say, like, man, between the art book and everything, the vinyl, the collector's edition, our team has, I think, put together some really special stuff I'm super proud of. So if you want to support what we're doing, that's the best way to do that. Other than that, though, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.